to the final instalment of this video mini-series which Property Tribes has produced in collaboration with leasehold expert Bernie Wales. And for this instalment, Bernie, we're going to talk a little bit about what leaseholders can do if the management company is basically useless. And I've had my fair share of those kind of management companies and freeholders. And one thing I cannot abide is if everything has to be done online. There are no phone numbers, no email addresses and this kind of thing. And we have produced some other videos in the series that do touch on this issue. But if it turns out that, you know, the leaseholder feels that the managing agent is not maintaining the block properly, not dealing with issues such as antisocial behaviour that can arise in communal areas, those kind of things, what can leaseholders do?
Well, I often get asked this, and I have an ebook on the subject of how do I fire my freeholder or managing agent. And there is always a way of doing it. It's a question of, well, what battle do I need to choose? And the way to find that out is to, you'll not be surprised, read the lease to find out what type of legal setup we've got here. Have you got what I call a two-party lease with a freeholder and a leaseholder, no one else involved, in which case the managing agent works for the freeholder? Or you may have a resident management company involved where there is a freeholder, yes, but the leaseholders have a company that's responsible for the day-to-day running of the building, in which case it's their managing agent. So if you've got an RMC and the leaseholders are controlling the managing agent, well, you can do something about it yourselves because it's your managing agent. So what you need to do there as an individual is speak to the resident directors, maybe go along to the next AGM and put your hand up and volunteer to be a director. But as long as the directors know that there is a problem, and they probably will know, then they can do something about it. They can terminate the agreement with the managing agent and they can appoint a new managing agent. So that's the sort of fairly simple answer to that one. If you've got, on the other hand, a two-party lease with a freeholder and a leaseholder and the managing agent works for the freeholder, then you've got to have a different type of battle. I would suggest, first of all, that you speak with the freeholder, contact the freeholder and say, we think that your managing agent is not very good. Would you please change them? And if you can get a sort of consensus of opinion and 20 letters go in, it's better than you sending your one letter, you know, so get the neighbours involved as well. A landlord will take much more notice of 20 letters coming in or 20 emails rather than one individual who's going to be regarded as a nutter. So the freeholder may change the managing agent. I would say it's probably quite rare, but ask the question. The next one, if that doesn't work, is right to manage. Now it came about with the Commonhold and Leasehold Reform Act 2002, and it gives leaseholders the right to take away the management functions of the lease from the freeholder. You need 50% of the leaseholders to be involved, more preferably, but 50% is the minimum. So again, you need to speak to your neighbours, other leaseholders, and you need to coordinate what to do. It's basically I was going to say it's a simple process. It's simple for me. I've done loads of them, but you need, as leaseholders, a specialist leasehold lawyer to help you with that, or somebody like me, although I don't tend to do them these days. But you can serve your notice, provided you do it in the right way, then the freeholder must hand over management to your right to manage company, to your company, and then your company takes over the management, instructs the managing agent. The other way to do it is right to enfranchise, where you take over the world, as I like to call it, which is where at least 50% of you, the leaseholders, serve a notice on the freeholder and you force them to sell the freehold to your leaseholder company. and then you take over everything, including the managing agent. Now, that's a more expensive route because you're actually buying an asset, you're buying the freehold. But it is the best answer, in my opinion, because you get control of your destiny as a group of leaseholders, and you can control everything. And you can do things like lease extensions as well. The fourth route is, if none of the above apply, then you can go to the first tier tribunal and ask them to appoint a manager, which is a court-appointed manager. Now, that is where if you can prove that the management is dysfunctional and the RICS code of practice is being broken, etc., i.e. you've got bad management, if you can prove that to the tribunal, then they may well be minded to appoint a manager. Now, whilst they appoint them, they ask you to nominate that person. So you'll need to do some research on that in advance and get somebody who is willing to be the manager. I would suggest the place to start there is the ARMA website, Association of Residential Managing Agents. Look at the members and search those in your locality who are willing to be an appointed manager. Not everybody is. It's a personal appointment, and you are at risk as the manager. So there are the various ways that you can do it. Now, all of that involves reading the lease and finding out what type of setup you've got, so you know which battle to have. If you're not too good at reading your lease and understanding legal gobbledygook, then you can use the ebook that we can download for you, How to Read Your Lease, or you could book a consultation with me and I can have a look through and go through each of those options for you with your bespoke situation.
Yes, we did touch on signs of a poor block management in a previous video. Let's just reprise those, Bernie, because you've got the exterior of the building. You could be looking at broken panes of glass, doors not shutting properly, poor landscaping, looking scruffy, other issues with the roof, people hanging about outside smoking, and generally a feeling of antisocialness that might be off-putting to people coming and going in the building. And then of course you've got your and security, actually, Bernie, is a very important factor. Doors do need to shut properly, all the key fobs and everything need to be working properly, and this kind of thing. So you do need to check that. But then in interiors, you've got to have clean and tidy communal areas. You want to see that. You don't want to see loads of bikes and toys scattered around, doors wedged open, that kind of thing. You do need to consider these things and make sure that the management company is undertaking their obligations. And of course, if there are issues such as, let's say, antisocial behaviour. I've had one recently where a tenant was complaining that a gentleman was in the hallway for long periods of time smoking pot. They actually can complain direct to the management company themselves, can't they?
They can, yes. And all of these subjects that you've mentioned are bad for business as a buy-to-let landlord. Because if the block is run down, or there's not the right sort of people around, or there's bad activities, etc., it's not going to be attractive to potential tenants, and you're not going to be able to get as good a rent as you otherwise might. It means your income is going to go down, and that's your bottom line profit disappearing. So proactive, positive, cost-efficient management is good for you as a buy-to-let landlord. It improves your bottom line profit month on month, and it improves your long-term capital value of your flat. So you do need to keep an eye on it. That the property training courses talk about arm's length, no time spent on this investment. I think that's a really bad idea. I think you should keep an eye on your investment, keep an eye on the management, go and check at least once a year, maybe every 6 months. Try and get into the building without keys. If you can get in, anybody can get in, and that's really bad news. So, spend a little time and look after your investment. Make sure that the managing agent is good. And if the managing agent isn't good and isn't cost effective, have a word with your neighbours and do something about it.
This is such excellent advice, Bernie, and I think that anybody considering a leasehold acquisition does need to do due diligence on the management company, put their name into Google, as we said, see if bad reviews come up. You can also ask on Property Tribes as well, if anybody has any negative experiences of any particular management company, because Bernie, I know you know the whole leasehold scene, that, you know, let's not beat around the bush. There are a few management companies where when their name is mentioned, people go, oh no, not them. They don't have a good reputation. And certainly when I did my lease extension recently, the first thing that I had some legal assistance, the first thing the solicitor said was, who's the managing agent, the company, and I mentioned their name. He went, oh, you'll be okay with them, they're actually really nice to deal with. So let's not underestimate how important this important role that the management company play in your investment.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, the managing agents, property managers, are human beings. There are good ones, there are bad ones, there are proactive ones, there are lazy ones, there are educated ones, and there are ignorant ones. And there are also some downright crooks out there. So, you know, Google it, have a look on Property Tribes, put in the management company name. Are there a whole load of other articles about it? Ask the question. You know, it's what we do on Property Tribes. You know, we help the community with these sorts of questions. And it not only helps you, the person putting in the question, but it helps everybody else who reads that situation as well. Mm-hmm. So Property Tribes is a great resource for that sort of thing. And the other buy-to-let landlords out there will come and give you help, advice and experiences, and you can learn from that.
Well, thank you, Bernie. That's fantastic to have your endorsement of Property Tribes, and also to have you on board as our partner for the Leasehold Tribe, where we host and curate all our leasehold discussions. And right at the top of this category, you will find a link to Bernie's free ebook, How to Read Your Lease. And the whole point of this video series is to really encourage landlords to read and understand their lease. And of course, if they need any help with that, Bernie is on hand with his leasehold advisory and consultancy service. So Bernie, we've concluded our 10 leasehold FAQs from a landlord perspective, and all that remains is for me to say thank you very much for sharing your 40 odd years of leasehold experience with us here at Property Tribes, and I'm sure everybody's got immense value from the series. So thank you very much for your kind contribution.
You're welcome, and thank you for asking me. I mean, it's great to be involved with Property Tribes and to help all the people out there. You know, I like helping people with their problems, and yes, we can tell people how to help themselves, but sometimes that isn't entirely possible. So it's great that Property Tribes has got a community there and experts like me who can provide the answers and help people in their difficult times.